Hello. You've joined the Script Mistress for Scene 12, interview with November's winner, Jeff Lee. I am your host, Amber Bosworth, and I'm so excited to bring you this episode. I had so much fun interviewing Jeff, and I really hope you enjoy it. As you can tell, my voice is a lot better. I got really sick and had to miss out on the podcast last week. So I will make up with the character arc in scene 13 next week. So stay tuned for that. Jeff was one of 32 writers that were tasked with writing a new script based on an image prompt sent out the day the challenge began. Since it was November, I was feeling a little political and I decided to send out an image showing a polling place, American flag on it, vote, and people showing up there. Now, Jeff wrote, his winning piece was titled Keeping Afloat. The logline: a man tells the story of how his father's duty survived the years of changing tides, only to help his son stay afloat on the waves of change. Now, in this interview, Jeff really talks about how he focuses on the process of writing and not the final product, which I think is great advice. You can read his winning work and the other four finalists' work, their scripts, at www.thescriptmistress.com/ink winners. Now, if you didn't know, you can catch this whole interview on video at www.thescriptmistress.com/scene 12. So this is 12. We are 3 days into the fourth Ink to Screen screenwriting challenge. It's going to run until December 18th. 5 days to write a new 5-page script on a prompt that is sent out on the first day, that Wednesday. Winners, the grand prize winner gets $150, and every single writer that submits a script gets in-depth feedback right on their actual script and a coverage detailing what they did good and what needs some work. This is all included in the $15 entry fee. Now, try to start the new year strong by signing up for the challenge in January. You can check it all out now at www.thescriptmistress.com/ink to screen. Registration will open on December 26th. Now, let's get to the interview. I know you're going to really enjoy it. Like I said, Jeff gave some really great pearls of wisdom, and I had a great time interviewing him. Enjoy. Hello, so I am here with Jeff Lee, our November winner. Hello, Jeff.
Hello.
Hello. So, we'll just get right into it. Like, tell us a little bit about your winning script.
In all honesty, when I got the first image and I was looking at it, I was like, oh, I could turn this into like a horror thing where it's some dude vivisecting another guy, trying to figure out like go completely political crazy with it. And then I started writing just the initial segments where he was talking, just to kind of lead to that eventual reveal. I was like, you know what, this is not a horror thing. This is just somebody talking about their experience. And then it wasn't until I got almost to the end that I was like, okay, I've got to bring it back around to it. So the whole purpose is to what we are taught about the processes and the procedures of what makes us Americans or whatever country you want to define it as, are generationally passed down as bit by bit, but it's our own interpretation of that process that then sets our patterns for how we enact on those procedures or that policy or whatever it is. And that's why the main character, as he's describing things, kind of goes up and then down and then up and then down, just kind of mellows out at the end, because he's not talking about, hey, vote for me, be on my platform, those kinds of things. He's just saying, hey, I just want it to be different, and this is why it's different for me, and I hope this gives something to you to see it the way that I saw it, and maybe for you will give you the chance to change what needs to be changed.
No, it was so moving, and I mean, and not having a lot of dialogue. Like, I mean, just very little dialogue and a lot of act. I mean, narrating, of course, but
Right.
it just felt like it was very organic. So, yeah, the name Keeping Afloat, and like I'll mention earlier, or mentioned already, that you can, read this on the website now. I uploaded it, thescriptmistress.com/ink winners, so everybody can really get can read it. So I mean, just kind of besides going through your process, was there any kind of thing that kind of motivated this besides the image prompt, of course?
Um, Not really. Like in all honesty, I didn't start this until Sunday, and probably like noon on Sunday. So I didn't. It wasn't like oh, I've got to get through all this process and do all these kind of things. I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna write it and see what's
Mhm,
happened. So for me, if I feel the need to write, I'll write. But if I don't, I just feel forced, and then
mhm.
what comes out is just I end up scrapping it anyways. So
Right. Yeah. Sometimes it's better to start fresh. No, that's great. Um, so describe, kind of your background, your screenwriting journey.
sure.
Mhm,
Since I was a kid, I've always been like a storyteller, like whether it be just conversations or just coming up with narratives in my head or just being super bored during an assembly and imagining bad guys busting in through walls and fighting good guys, or
mhm,
vice versa. Um, then I got into I did like every job you can possibly imagine and just couldn't find anything that really made me super happy. So I was working IT and networking, and I was working at night, so I got a lot of free time. And I was like, you know what? I'm just tired of not one having not a degree and two not being able to do what I like. So I started Full Sail in 2013 for the Bachelor's of
mhm.
Creative Writing and Entertainment. I finished that in 2015, um, and graduated then. And then I just took a break, and I didn't really get any major jobs, didn't get any offers or whatnot. So I'm like, maybe I'm just missing a part of it. So I wrote for a couple websites. I wrote, your link articles, your
Mhm.
listables, your those kinds of things. I did comic book pull lists on a weekly basis for geek websites. And then I just kind of was just done with my job. I had worked there for like 7 years, and I just wanted something different. So I signed up for the Masters of Film program at Full Sail, which is
Mm.
fully immersive. So instead of being online, I actually moved to Florida, went to the
Oh,
campus, was there every single day, and it was a little nuts because I didn't know really much about film. But part of that process was learning script writing and pitching and those kinds of things, and really taking what I had learned in the bachelor's class into a whole other frame of reference. So
yes.
having to write, a script every week or every month, those kinds of things. And then from there, I've dabbled here and there. Of course, I've been a part of your contest. I think
Mhm.
since right after it started, and it
Yep.
stopped for a bit, and then I came back. So, but that's kind of been the whole journey so far.
No, no, that's great. So you're back now in California?
I'm in Nevada now. I was in
Oh,
Alaska
Nevada.
for quite a while,
Mhm.
and now I'm in Nevada. Went from 32-degree weather to 114 in the same day, and I was like,
Oh my god.
no.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's good.
so
Yeah.
it just is what it is. Life takes you where it wants to take you, and you just kind of have to do it.
Right? Yeah, you have no expectations and just go with what, feels right. No, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So what helped your writing as you were just beginning? I know with the bachelor's and with all that, but what were some things besides that that really helped as you began?
Um, I have what's I define as the writer's brain. So when I'm reading stuff, I don't see grammar, I don't see spelling. And it's obvious when you read my script, you can see all the little things because my brain just kind of skips over it. Because in my brain, I'm
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, see it. So what I learned was either to have somebody read it out loud to me,
Mhm.
or in Final Draft, you can do the read out loud thing, and that helps. But for me, I have to kind of I'll just explode something onto the paper, and then I have to take the time to kind of bit by bit by bit by bit because I may have started from a point way up here, and I don't know if I've ended it. So
Yeah.
it's taking that time and the discipline. I mean, it's one thing to write. I describe it as stuff falling out of my head, but when
Mhm.
it falls out and it gets on the paper, I have to piece it then together in a way that's cognitively understandable to another person. And then as part of that is the kind of the process of letting go, because when you write something, yes, it's your baby, it's your creation and those kinds of things. But if you really want it to become something else, you have to let it go. You have to let it grow on its
Mhm.
own and not hold so tight to criticism and those kinds
Mhm.
of things. And that's one of the hardest things that I have to do because I get real defensive, like, oh no, that's not what I'm trying to say. But
Mhm.
you have to let it go and let it be.
And what I mean, what has helped you kind of, because that as a screenwriter too, because when you write a novel, people can read it and they interpret it, but like
Mhm.
for scripts, like they could take it and create something completely different with it. So what has kind of helped you with that criticism or with letting go?
Um, Understanding that the imagery that you imply, because like when I write prose, I'm very descriptive. I describe every little thing,
Mhm.
whereas in a script you can't do that because you have maybe 3 lines in your
Yeah.
action to get it all done. So you have to be as nailed down as possible, but you also have to kind of vague,
Mhm.
because when the script, if you do sell it, if you give it to other people, it's going to be read by a screener, it's going to be read by the producers, it's
Yeah.
going to be read by the director, and those kinds of things. You have to be open to the experience of it. So for myself, when I'm writing those 3 lines, I know how it's supposed to look in my head, but I'm also not trying to put directive understandings in there, because that's the big thing too. Is
Mhm.
you don't want to tell the director is going to do those things.
Yep.
You write it and you go, this is what it's supposed to be, and if the image is clear enough in the writing, then it's fine for how it will be when it actually gets if it goes to screen, and not holding on to that. Like just okay, it's 3 lines and I have to cut it down or I have to put a
Mhm.
little more into it. But that's what you get. So if you understand, at least for myself, those 3 lines is what I've got. And if I go over those 3 lines, I get real nervous because I'm like, oh no, it's too much. And if it's under those 3 lines, I'm like, nope, it's not enough space. And make sure to use as much space as you can. So don't leave like 1 or 2 words at the end, because I
Mhm.
would like that, and then
You have
I
that
want to add
whole
to it. Yeah,
yeah.
that whole you have
You
that
have
whole
that whole
line, but
line.
yeah, you
Yeah.
either add to it or you cut it back for. So for me,
Mhm.
like criticism, whatnot, the letting go, but also I don't have to tell everything. Yes, you
Mhm.
have to get from the start of the story to the end of the story, but in those moments, those small little moments that happen in those action lines, just let it be, let it flow
Mhm.
as it is, but make sure that you've clearly defined, at least for myself, what the point is. Because if the point's clear, the image could be 100 different things, but the message is still the same.
Exactly. No, that's great. And that's kind of like when I try to write feedback, I try to put that in as succinctly as I can, because a lot of beginning screenwriters have a problem with that. A lot of people like to put in camera directions, um,
Yeah.
and I understand where they're going, but I'm like, unless you're the one shooting this, then you got to leave that out. So no, that's great advice. Um, So are there any like techniques that you have besides like standing in or sitting in front of a blank page on the computer? Like what kind of gets you in
Um,
the mood?
uh, Coffee.
Coffee.
Coffee. No matter what time of the day it is, there has
Mhm.
to be coffee, whether or not it's fresh or if it's espresso or whatnot. As long as there's coffee there, it's that singular smell of coffee that
Mm,
my brain goes, oh, okay, we should be awake, we should be doing something. And then even when I hit that wall or I hit those moments, I can look down and go, oh, I've got coffee here, and I'll take a cup and I might read back up a line. So for me, um, having ADHD, it's not that I need to play with anything, but I
mm,
need something to pull away from, and
mhm.
then understand that that should pull me back in again. So I mean, when you're drinking coffee, you've got like your cup here and it's down here. You look down, you pull up, and you're doing this. But at the same time, I'm still looking at my screen, going, oh, that's something I missed right there. Let me
Yeah.
hold on, and, did that. So that helps to get me in that space. Also, and I know it's weird to say, but when you're super emotional, like angry, depressed, sad, joyful, whatnot, sit down and take all of the energy, because it's just energy. It's all it is.
Mhm.
Take that energy and refocus it onto the page. So for me, if I'm really upset and I just can't get it out of my head, I'll
Mhm.
just start writing, whether it's a script or a poem or whatever it is. It's that focus. It fuels that focus. And some of the best stuff I've written, I was sitting there in tears when I started, and at the end, I'm like, oh, okay, well, now I'm good. Let me get
Yeah.
it out. So like for me, use what you've got in that moment, and make sure you've got some defining like anchor points. Like my coffee is my anchor, it keeps me from
Yes.
floating away. If you're hungry, make sure you've got enough room for snacks or something, because I mean you don't have to like write every, like for me I want to write as much as I can, but you can't. You have to take those breaks, you have to take those
Mhm.
moments, use the restroom, all those kinds of things. So like I said, for me it's having those little things that will anchor me in, and then
Mhm.
also using whatever is going on right now to help fuel what I want, what's coming out. What doesn't mean it defines exactly what I write, but it helps to fuel the process.
No, that's great. Like with the coffee too, you can kind of think of it as having your mind think of something else, takes it
Yeah,
away, and you almost get to come back with a fresh mind. That's
yeah,
like that's why I like with some techniques I tell people to go back, step away. You got to step away for a little bit
yeah,
and then go back and you reread it and then that's when you notice the things because you're not so immersed in it. So, no, that's very good and you just get it with the drinking. That's good.
yeah. Taking a drink or getting a snack or using the restroom
Mhm.
or whatnot because I know that I'm coming back to this chair or this spot or
Mhm.
wherever I'm writing. So that again is that anchor pulls me out, pulls me back in again.
Yes, absolutely. That's great. Um, so when you read like another writer's script, what are some things that impress you and what are some things you really don't like?
Um, I always look for how many exclamation points they use because I was taught by a professor that you should use one, literally one per an entire script. That's all you get,
An
and
exclamation point?
an exclamation point, just one, because
Okay.
you don't want them on everything. Like, so for me, when I'm reading that, I'm always looking for that one. Like, okay, where did they put it? Why is that emphasis point? And that's, I mean, I'm analyzing where it is, and then I look and I go, oh, I think I would have put it here. I really like where it is right here.
Mhm.
And even when I write, I try not to use them at all unless it's really, really like you're trying to put some oomph behind it, because
Yeah.
I can see where it becomes repetitive, where everything is in caps, everything is in, you
Mhm.
know, those kinds of things. And for reading a script as well, if it's somebody else's script, I let my brain just float on the imagery. Like, what am I seeing? It's like
Yeah.
listening to a song. I love in my mind as a song is playing. I'm imagining what the video would look like. And it's
Mhm.
the same for a script. I'm reading this and I'm imagining what each thing would look like with the characters, those kinds of things. I'm looking for that one exclamation point. That's really the only critical thing I look at. And it's not that I dislike anything with reading with other people's script. I can see where things get really wordy and I want to kind of cut it back. But
Mhm.
if that's your writing style and that's what you do, then who am I to judge? I mean, I couldn't spell certain words for a really long time, and I'm sure. I mean, what was it? The Get Shorty, where he's talking about like there's some commas and stuff in there. We can get somebody else to put those in there. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
when I'm looking at it. I'm looking at that in somebody else's script because I understand that yes, my commas aren't in the right spot, so I want the story. I don't need the little hard end stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's like I mean, like when I read everybody's script, I don't judge on grammar. I just kind of help kind of go through and point those out to you. Like that's not one of the points. Like that's why when you asked if you should edit your script, I'm like, no, I want people to see that we all go through and it's always good to have somebody else take a look at it just for that. Like
Mm.
if you just find like a proofreader or somebody that can just do that, that just makes it look better because sometimes you have the one thing could be like his grammar was terrible. So why, it could be the one
Yeah,
thing that determines if you get a sold project or not. So
yeah. And I appreciate the fact that you don't judge us on spelling and
no,
grammar
I
because
don't.
all my stuff I've been like, oh, trash, good trash.
No, no.
Kobe, done with that one.
No, it would it would make my job easier if I
Yeah.
did. The judging part, but no, I don't. I focus on the story and for me, it's like I mentioned before as an actress too, I do a lot of acting. I love character. Like with your script, with the character of the son, it was so moving and I'm like, okay, so that was kind of what I really liked seeing that development in 5 pages, which is just great. So that was one of the big things. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what oh, go ahead.
Oh no, and that was one of the points because my October script, you had noted that I there you didn't there wasn't any motivation. Like, what was the
Mhm,
motivation for doing things?
mhm,
And I was remembering that. I'm thinking of that when I was writing the November script because I was like, okay, what
mhm.
is his motivation in doing this?
Yeah.
But also because I didn't want to make the father the protagonist; it had to be the kid. So
Yeah.
what is his motivation? He's literally just being dragged to places by a dad
Yeah.
and watching his father go through this either super elation or super heartbreak. And what is
Yeah.
that? Why is that a motivation for him? So that was a huge note for me from the October to November because I was like, oh yeah, I could see where that there wasn't enough
Mhm.
of that definition there when it comes to character.
And that was why it was so great, because you actually, in your script, you saw the motivation. It's not like you put me right into it, like, this is his motivation. Like, you had the motivation build. Like, the more he saw his dad suffer and go through this, the motivation was building inside of this character, like, "I wanna make this better for my father and my future." Like, so that was a huge thing, like, wow. So, yeah, so really, really appreciated that. So, what are some tips, like, that you would like to give out to other
Um,
writers, screenwriters?
be open to the process. Like, yes, everybody reads, Save the Cat or Ghost Theater,
Mhm,
all those kinds of things. Are all told that's exactly what you do. But really, when it comes down to it,
mhm,
write your 15-page script for this,
yep,
and then work your way backwards. Don't
mhm,
hold yourself back because yes, you might have to cut something later, but not allowing yourself or allowing your narrative to play out in such a way you might miss a whole section of dialogue or a whole
mhm,
description of a scene that could have made it the winning one, but you cut it because or you didn't allow it to happen because you were so set on 5 pages.
yeah,
It's not the process that's 5 pages, it's the product that's 5 pages. So taking those two things away from each other, and then when it comes to like letting go or those kinds of things, remember that even for your characters, everyone has the right to your emotions, but you have the responsibility to express them safely. So for me, when I'm looking at a character that is emotional, or looking at a character that's not emotional, yeah, they have the right to what emotions are going on in that scene or what they're trying to say, but they don't need to be shouting it or yelling it or over
mhm,
exaggerating their sorrow or being melodramatic and certain things, because that can take a reader out of it as well. So make sure
mhm,
it for yourself that yes, you can be as emotional as you want to, and you need to be responsible for how those emotions are expressed. So especially when it comes to narrative and when it comes to dialogue, be aware of what emotions are at play in that scene or in your character and allow them to have it. And also allow them to kind of rein it back in, or you be the one to rein it back in so it doesn't overload the page or overload the scene.
mhm.
And if you're frustrated, if you're angry, if you're whatever it is, yes, because it's so hard to when you look at like even December's picture, I'm looking at it going, what in the world can I do with that? So yeah, just if you don't have to have an outline, you don't have to have
Mm,
your little cards with everything built out. No, just sit down and write, exterior, monkey forest day. And then if anything comes from that, then it comes from that. But it's the don't stop yourself because you want, like I said, you get so focused on the product that you forget the process. So
yeah,
just open yourself up, see what comes out. If you don't like it, start over. Yes, we only have 5 days to write this, but in those 5 days, you could have that's I don't even know how many hours that is, 100 and something hours.
yeah,
But
yeah,
if you do, if you have to cut back on an hour of sleep to get something done, sure, but don't limit yourself because you don't think you either you are enough or that it's enough because it doesn't
mhm,
matter um, in the end because your product is going for someone else to read. So if you can let it go, then it's already enough. You wrote it, it's done, it's
mhm.
enough.
Yes, that's great, that's great, great tip. And so some of you only do it in the one day,
Yeah,
in the Sunday.
yeah,
You're
and
not the only
it's
one who does it.
no, no, but it's evident when I looked over all the corrections. I was like, yep, I really should have spent more time going over this. Didn't hit that submit button fast enough.
Yes, I think I wrote one, not yours, but there was another, and I literally, because I have my own little notes that I keep for everybody. I'm like, he or they literally wrote it in like 5 hours, I think. And just because it felt rushed, like,
Right.
and sometimes if you don't, if you don't give yourself that space, your energy ends up on the page too. So,
Yeah.
so that's okay.
Sure.
So where can we currently catch your writing? Do you have any website, or do you have anything besides the script mistress?
I do have a portfolio website that needs to be updated. It's on Wix under BC Pope, which is the pen name that I use.
Hmm.
I also have a kids book that I wrote and published on
Oh, wow.
Amazon. It's under Kindle. It's It's titled "I See You" by BC Pope. It's just about simple, everyday emotions and making sure that we account for them in our kids and in ourselves, simple things
Mm-hmm.
like that. But besides that, everything either I've written or I've got is in a D&D campaign right now that I'm running for somebody else, or it's still stuck up here and I haven't managed to knock it loose yet.
Right? No, that's okay. I always ask just in case anybody
Gotcha.
self-promotion. This is all
Gotcha.
this interview is for you guys. But no, again, so everybody can catch his winning scripts and learn about motivation, how to put motivation into a character in 5 pages. I think that's a good it's a good script to really drive that home. So thescriptmistress.com/, ink winners. Well, thank you so much, Jeff.
Not
Appreciate
a
it.
problem. Thank you for the opportunity and thank you for the win. And
Yeah.
to everyone else that got the top five, I read all your stuff. There was some really, really amazing stuff, and it humbled me to be a part of that. I know people say that, but really, when I read other people's stuff and I can see how great it is, I just like, man, I thank you so much for this opportunity because that one right there, that one, couple uppercuts to my script would have knocked him flat in the front, front
Yeah.
of the mat.
Yeah, the you guys were pretty close. Like it's every top 5 is really close. So yeah, very good. Very good job. Wow. So what did you guys think of that? That was such a good interview with Jeff. I hope you learned something new to help you along your writing journey. Now, don't forget, if you want to read Jeff's work, you can get it on the website at www.thescriptmistress.com/ink winners. Now, he also has his own author showcase website at Chithazen at .wixsite.com/BC Pope. And I'll have all of this in the show notes on the podcast, wherever you're listening to this on the podcast, or you can go to the webpage, the www.thescriptmistress.com/scene 12. So I'll have a link to that as well. Now, I've also created, I'm sure you all heard about this, I've also created an outline template to help with your script outline. This is a fillable PDF, or you can print it out and fill it in as you like, completely free. It is a short template, but you can print out and just do the scene by scene pages if you want, add a little extra pages there, whatever more is needed for your script, whether you're writing a short script or a long script. It's all on the website at www.thescriptmistress.com/outline. Now, I wouldn't leave you without a writing action. Now, Jeff kind of inspired this one, of course. So I want you to follow Jeff's lead and focus on the process of writing and not the product. So next script you write, any challenges you're doing, any contests or anything, try getting all you can down on the page and then shorten it into whatever length you are tasked with. Try not to focus on the fact that you have to fit it all within 5 pages. Write out everything that you feel is in your inside of you for whatever prompt you get or whatever action you have to take. Get it all out there and then focus on scaling it back. Now, feel free to share your insights on the Facebook page at www.facebook.com/ink2screen, the number 2. Now, you never know if your insights will inspire someone else. I mean, that's why I do this podcast, to just talk about things that inspire me, and hopefully it helps out somebody with their own writing. Now, thank you so much for listening and or watching. I truly value any feedback. If you have an idea for a podcast that might help, you can email me at amber@thescriptmistress.com. Like and follow this show wherever you are listening, and talk soon. And until then, happy writing.